Thinking on Easter Sunday of the blessings that I get to enjoy in sitting here and bring this show to you every day, and we can kind of hold on to each other for dear life. Last week was just as bad as they said it was going to be. It was a rough week. I'm praying this week is a little bit better. The president has issued a major disaster declaration for the state of Wyoming. That means that there is now such a declaration within all 50 states due to the COVID 19 pandemic. It's the first time that a president has ever declared a major disaster in all 50 states at once. Here in America, we've had 22,146 deaths so far, with over 558,000 cases confirmed nationwide. Around the world, over 1.8 million cases, 115,286 deaths. And if it wasn't bad enough, Mississippi and Louisiana were hit yesterday with a deadly storm system that ripped through the area, producing dozens of tornadoes. Hundreds of homes and buildings were devastated. At least 17 deaths reported in the region. Now severe thunderstorms are barreling through the East Coast. I was talking almost, I don't know that Eric Hansen was joking. We said, I'm fully expecting a rain of frogs and locusts to come pouring down on us at some point. It's been really rough. I mean, there's no question. I made almost the mistake. That's not a mistake. It was important. When I was paging through the New York Times yesterday and all of the anti-Trump reporting that is nothing new for the New York Times. It's all his fault. He's the reason. Let's blame him for everything. But there was a brutal first-person account by Nicholas Kristof of an emergency room. He was allowed to be embedded in a New York City emergency room for the day and reported on the fear, the terror, what it must be like to be sick and in a hospital bed where you are literally lined up bed to bed. The whole process of having to put people on a ventilator, intubating them as they call it, and 3 out of 4 people who are intubated aren't going to make it. The horrible stories, the woman in Detroit who lost her precious husband and son, the realization that Black and Hispanic Americans are being disproportionately hit by coronavirus. Just the devastation and the tough time we're going through. I did my best leading into Easter Sunday to try to remind one another of the promise of the resurrection, and Passover, the escape from Egypt, the getting out from under it, letting the plague go over us, wash through, as President Trump likes to say. And there are some really, really bad things that are coming out of this. I am continually focused on the way local governments are ripping the constitutional rights away from Americans. We have to be safe. We are trying our best. This country is strong and brave, and many, many people have lost and are losing everything, and they are staying home. They are following the guidelines from the president's task force and the CDC. They're now in New York, an executive order, wear a mask. And I start to get nervous when I cover something like this because Cuomo has done a pretty decent job leading New Yorkers through this tumultuous time. He signs an executive order. You got to wear a mask when you go outside, apparently, and you deal with the public. What does that mean, deal with the public, interact with the public? Everybody interacts with the public in New York, especially in New York City. So what do you do if you don't have a mask? Are you going to get dragged off the bus in Philly like the one guy was by the police? Did you see that video? And incidentally, can somebody confirm that video for me and tell me where that came from? Because some of these videos, you see them and then it turns out like the guy running on the beach, and there was a cop trying to catch the jogger all by himself on the beach. Now, that's so foreign to me because I see joggers on the beach all the time here in Florida. There are people in parks. There are people playing tennis. There are people in tents. There are people camping. There are people who are out. There are people for a run. There are people for a walk. There are people walking their dogs. People are not locked down in their home. So this runner on the beach, this guy, you see him, he's running along the water, and you see it's shot from kind of a distance, and you see a police officer going towards him, and the jogger sees him, so he starts running faster. Well, then the police officer starts running faster and tries to catch him, and he can't catch him. The jogger just is like the speed of lightning, and he's gone. And there's the police officer huffing and puffing, trying to catch the guy who's running by himself along the water. Who in the world is hurt by some? Now, somebody told me that was Italy, or it was Brazil or something. I don't think it was in the United States. My producer is telling me that it was definitely the Philly Transit Authority. Now, my question about that video showing a man being dragged off a bus for not wearing a mask, is that really the whole story? Somebody who listens to us in Philly can give us a call maybe, and maybe you've heard about that local story, and give me the backstory if there is one. This idea that city and state governments, I mean, here's a story out of the Louisville Courier-Journal. As hymns sang out Easter Sunday from a large outdoor speaker overlooking the Maryville Baptist Church parking lot, 2 Kentucky state troopers placed quarantine notices on parishioners' cars and wrote down their license plate numbers. Inside the church, roughly 50 worshipers ignored Governor Andy Beshear's order against mass gatherings during the coronavirus pandemic so they could attend services together on Christianity's holiest day. Several said as they left they had no intention of abiding by the notice on their windshields that called for a 14-day self-quarantine or faced the threat of further enforcement measures. Now, I said last week I don't think it's a good idea for a mass gathering in church. It's painful to say that, but I understand the social distancing guidelines. I understand the president's task force recommendations. But how in the world are you going to enforce a quarantine based on a physical vehicle when you don't know what the occupant in the car did or didn't do inside the church? You don't even know if the occupant of the car is the person in the church. What if the person's car is somebody else's vehicle? And then the person who owns the vehicle is going to be penalized with a 14-day mandatory quarantine because of the order of the governor of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. I am deeply disturbed by some of these stories that we're hearing out of Kansas, out of Michigan. You got the Michigan governor deciding that she's going to make a determination what foods you can and can't buy in the grocery store. She wants certain parts of the grocery store roped off. Good luck with that. You can't buy seeds for fruits and vegetables. So people who are home for weeks and months at a time can't plant seeds in their garden because Governor Whitmer has decided that seeds aren't essential food. What is essential? The liquor store? Because you know it is. You know it is. You know the liquor stores are open. You know you can buy lottery tickets. There's certainly plenty of things you can do. There's just a hodgepodge, just a total sort of mishmash of things that are happening around this great country of ours, but it all points to one thing: the erosion of our constitutional rights. And if anybody in America can tell me what the harm is in a churchgoer sitting in their car in a church parking lot listening to worship services on a speaker, please, I will put you to the top of the line. I hope that you'll join me here in the ReliefFactor.com studios as we welcome you back to Mike's Kitchen. We're working from home. It looks like it's going to be another number of weeks. This is not going to happen soon, but now the president has a very, very, very difficult decision to make.